I will be starting talking about our journey into the marine biodiversity assessment and the research what we've been doing in Tamil Nadu with the slides. So as we know, Tamil Nadu is one of the state having a long coastline. So if we look, there is a approximately 1,069 kilometer long coastline across the 14 coastal districts. And in almost all the coastal districts, we have some important coastal and marine biodiversity areas, starting from Pulicat Lake in the north to Manakudi in the Kanyakumari district. So you can see on the screen list of the important coastal and marine biodiversity area falls under the jurisdiction of the state Tamil Nadu. Besides, of course, Gulf of Mannar Biosphere Reserve and National Park is very, very important marine site in our country. It is one of the richest coastal regions in the Southeast Asia, harboring a huge biodiversity of the flora and fauna, good number of corals, forming a distinct fringing reef across the 21 islands, starting from Rameswaram in the north to Tuticorin in the south. So you can get a glimpse of the 21 islands across the Gulf of Mannar, and then it is harboring a huge biodiversity, as I already mentioned. Besides, besides India's first Dugong Conservation Reserve has been commissioned a couple of years back in a small area of the Park Bay, comprising of 2 and 3 districts in the central part of Tamil Nadu in the Park Bay region. And that is exclusively to safeguard the seagrass habitat and the fauna, that is basically dugong, which is abundantly present in this area, which we have also listened from yesterday Prachi's talk. But today, I'll be coming back and talking about what we've been doing along the Tamil Nadu coastline. So basically, we've been studying mainly in two of the locations. One is Kovalam, which falls under Kanchipuram district, very, very near to Chennai, 30 kilometers south toward the Pondicherry in the East Coast Road. And then the second location is Gulf of Mannar and Park Bay. Of course, in Gulf of Mannar, not as much as in the Park Bay, but then we've been doing some of the work in both the locations. We are looking into the marine biodiversity assessment in two locations, as well as we are also studying in the laboratory how the marine species inhabiting these locations respond to the predicted climate change condition, in particular to ocean acidification. And we have done a number of studies on various algae, various invertebrates, which has been published in several peer-reviewed papers in the last few years. Besides, we are also involved in training and spreading the awareness about the marine conservation to the citizens in collaboration with sometime with the Blue Flag Beach in Kovalam, or sometime taking the participants or taking the volunteers or interested marine researchers to the Kovalam Kovalam beach as well as the landing center, and also we take them sometime to Rameswaram in the Park Bay area to show them how the natural habitat or the natural marine coastal areas of Tamil Nadu are, how diverse it is. In June 2019, we have established a Satyabama Marine Research Station with the immense support of our management, and that gave us the access to do more and more studies in the Park Bay area and Gulf of Mannar area. Now, our team has 3 open water divers, 2 of them having advanced open water certification. So we conduct underwater surveys in those areas and then just try to understand that what sort of marine and the coastal living organisms are present in those areas. So we have full-fledged facilities for undertaking the scuba diving research. We have snorkels and the access to those study locations. Now, coming back into our research, which I'm going to share now, we started somewhere in 2017-18, and we received a funding from DBT-SCRB to study the impact of the seaweeds and then the response to the predicted climate change. That project and that study has given us ample amount of opportunity to visit the different field sites. So we've been even before that we were going to Parkway. We had the established center in Rameshwaram, but we started exploring more very near location where we are in Kovalam, right? As I said, that it is around 30 kilometers down from Chennai toward Pondicherry in the East Coast road. And when we started visiting that place, it was a perfect place for us to explore because there was a long beach, sandy beach. There were intertidal rocks which were harboring good amount of diversity, and then there was a nearby fish landing point, that is Kovalam fish landing point, very near to the Mutukadu backwater mouth. And then in the same place toward the Mutukadu backwater mouth, we had Blue Flag Beach. So it was a very perfect setting to start exploring the marine biodiversity in this particular area. What we did is that we undertook surveys from 2018-19 till 2021 May, and then we went into the fish landing points, collected the data on the catches and the bycatches from more than 220 boats. We did a number of Kovalam sandy beach walk, as well as explored the intertidal rocks in order to understand that what sort of marine biodiversity is living there. And then we came up with a paper which I will be explaining you in some time. So let us look that what sort of diversity which we could see in the fish landing center. We recorded close to 200 overall in Kovalam. We recorded close to 224 species of the marine flora and the fauna, belonging to 135 families, 61 order, 20 classes, and overall 10 phyla in the Kovalam coast. When I say Kovalam coast, it also includes the near shore organisms, because the fishing happening, or the fishers in Kovalam are visiting very narrow, very shallow waters in Kovalam, less than 20-25 meter in most of the cases, using artisanal fishing gears, and then they go up to 5 kilometers. So more or less whatever the catch they are bringing, it's coming from the from not very far from the coastline of Kovalam. And now when we look into the result, we can see that out of 134 species, out of 222 species of the marine flora and fauna, 134 belong to the fish landing centers. 53 were either standing on the beaches, including the empty shells. 44 species were living on the intertidal rocks and the sand. And if we look into the percentage composition of the marine organisms found in the Kovalam coast, we can see that more than 37% of the total diversity belong to chordata, because many of them were fishes, followed by mollusca, arthropoda, and then various other marine phylum in less than 10% composition. So let us see that what we got when we looked into the fish landing center. So this is one typical image of the Kovalam fish landing point, where, as I said, that the fishers are undertaking the artisanal fish gears and the fishing practice. And in the fish landing center, we could see 6 phyla. Among the finfish, if we look, 70 species belonging to the bony fishes, from 46 families, 61 genera, whereas cartilaginous fishes included 6 species in 2 order, 5 families, and 6 genera. So here you can see some of the representative images of the fishes which we have found on the fish landing point in Kovalam. I'll be just scrolling some of the slides here, where you can see the list of, the images of the organisms which we have found in Kovalam. So we have fishes from various different families and the orders, which came in the fish landing by the artisanal fishers. And then, as I said, that some of them were also belonging to the elasmobranch, and you can see 2 torpediniformes which we have frequently found in Kovalam. One was Narsin timli, and the second one was Torpedo panthera. And then besides, we could see several stingrays. What we did is that we looked into the habitat, IUCN criteria, and the trophic level of the fishes which were found in the shallow waters of Kovalam. And we found that many of the fin fishes which were caught in the artisanal fishing nets or fishing gears were similar to or having the size more or less similar to the maturity length. That gives us some idea that the artisanal fishing in this particular location may not be very, very exhaustive and extensive, and then it is not as harmful as when we talk about the trawl fishing net, because most of the fishes which were caught here were similar or more or less similar to the maturity length, except in few of the rays which we later on studied more in detail, especially the torpediniformis or the electric rays that I will be explaining in some time now. Okay. So as I said, that most of the fishes were more or less similar to the maturity length, except the race. 47 species were under the least concern category in the IUCN Red List. 15 species were not evaluated, 5 were data deficient, 3 were vulnerable, 1 each near threatened and the endangered fishes. We also looked into the trophic level based on the sea life base as well as the fish based database. And then we can see that majority of the fishes which we found in Kovalam waters belonging to either the carnivore, belonging to secondary, tertiary, or the apex carnivore, because majority of them were having the trophic level values above 3.5 toward 4 or more than 4. And then some of the fishes, less than 10 fishes, are showing the representation from the omnivore or the herbivore categories. Apart from the fishes, the major phyla what we got is Arthropoda, where 25 species were found from the Decapoda and 1 from the isopod crustacean. And we have evaluated the IUCN status from the IUCN Red List database. And then here are some of the images, representative images of the Arthropoda what we have got in the fish landing center. Besides, we found 21 species of mollusca belonging to 16 gastropods, 3 bivalves, and 2 squids, as well as 1 representative of Polychaeta and 4 each from Echinodermata and Cnidaria. As I already mentioned, we looked into the IUCN status of these species as well. Here are some of the representative images which we have observed or discovered during our Kovalam marine and coastal assessment. So these all were live gastropods or the molluscas which we have found in the fish landing centers, and then representative of Polychaeta. Again, cephalopods, bivalves, cnidarians, echinoderms. So besides looking into the fish landing center, we also looked into the beaches. What are the common standing which we were getting? And this is one of the representative images of the Kovalam. You can see a vast, long, sandy beach. So we undertook the beach walk on the Kovalam very frequently for almost a year. And then we found that we very often we were seeing the stranding of the porcupine fishes, red and the brown seaweeds, mostly Gracilaria, Sargassum, and Turbinaria. And occasionally we were also observing the sea turtles, olive redley turtles in the beaches. Besides, we have also identified the empty shells. Sometime in some season of the year, you will find a lot of empty shells belonging to more than 35 species of bivalve and then 13 species of gastropods. So here are some of the representative images of the mollusca which we found on the beach during the beach walk in Kovalam. Bivalves. And all these were identified either using the standard morphological keys or otherwise seeking the help of the experts. For example, we also took help from Ravinesh, who is having a very good idea about the molluscan diversity. So here are some of the images of the empty shells on the beaches. And as I said, that we often encounter olive redley turtles, we encounter some of the carapace of the fishes, and then common seaweeds includes Gracilaria, Sargassum, and Turbinaria. and sometimes we also find sponges on the beaches. So that is about the fish landing center and the sandy beach walk. In the intertidal rocks and the sand, again you can see representative image of the Kovalam rocks found in between the sandy substratum, and then some of the rocks in some of the years, especially starting from February onwards till May, and then again from August, September till the monsoon, on the rocks you will find a huge biodiversity. So this is the representative image of the intertidal rock of Kovalam. In the sandy shore, we often find in the low and the mid tide zone the presence of the emerita, that is a mole crab. The representative image is shown here. As well as in the high tide zone, we often find ghost crab, that is Ocypoda brevicornis, in the high tide zone, and these are very common sighting when you go to the not only the Kovalam but also any of the Chennai beaches. We were particularly very interested by looking into the intertidal rocks, because even though in one look it looks like that it is full of the or dominated by the green seaweeds, mussels, and sometime of the year you will have the oyster beds, barnacles. But then when we looked in detail, we could see more than 45 species on those not so very big rocks, and it also forms sometimes the tide pool on the rock. But then in the outside of the rock, it's been continuously splashed with the water. You can see it may not be a very high current beach, but then the splash of the wave is very strong. So the kind of the diversity you will get, you can be very easily see the vertical zonation pattern on these kind of rock, where in the lower part you have some sets of organisms which is not at all available in the upper part of the rock, and then in the upper part of the rock you have mostly dominated with the particular species of the seaweeds, and then the oysters, mussel, barnacle, and so on. So here some of the representative images how the Kovalam intertidal rock look like. You can see in first image it is dominated by the seaweeds, but then you can see the small water in the pools, and then some images you can see the oysters. And we also found very particularly this red color patch on the rock, which initially we thought that we don't know what it is. It is basically a rhodophyta. It's a red algae, calcareous algae. And I still don't. I'm sure that it is not yet reported from India. But we need to work more on that particular species in order to understand. So here you can see what all different species which we have found on the intertidal rocks. That includes seaweeds, as I said, ulva, several species of ulva, Chaetomorpha, Cladophora. In the red seaweed, we have seen Gratulopia, Gracilaria, Centrocerus, and Spongitis, that particular coralline algae which I was speaking about. And then since we have a lot of mollusca, we can see Perna viridis, we can see Purpura persica, we can see Perna perna, we can see many different gastropods, cases of the gastropods, we can see limpets, chitines, we can see rock oysters on the intertidal rock, as well as some of the common crustaceans include the moon crab, fortunate crab, ghost crab, shore crab, acorn barnacle, goose barnacle, mid-size and the big size of acorn barnacle. And then some of the common cnidarians include the rock anemone, snaky anemone, tentacle anemone, aggregating anemone. So these are some of the common organisms which you will be able to find when you work on or when you look into the intertidal rocks of the Kovalam. But Kovalam is also very much similar as to any other rocky or the sandy beaches in the country. Though one portion of the Kovalam is designated as a blue flag beach, and it is quite clean, quite a very, like a touristic place, good to go. But then in some portion of the Kovalam, especially in the last 5 to 6 years, the huge amount of the people who are going there is making the beach dirty. Every time you will be able to see, and also there are many devotional places nearby, belonging to Muslims, belonging to Christians, and belonging to Hindu. So they many religious waste also you will be able to see commonly in Kovalam, in some areas of the Kovalam. And you can see the representative images where there is a trash, where there is a water logging, where there is a even though it's artisanal fishing area, not that much pile of the bycatches you will see, but then often you will be able to see the eels as well as the small sized stingrays. So all those things are waste. And then besides, you will also see a lot of dumps of marine cells in this particular area. So all these Kovalam assessment, we have published it in regional studies of marine science a few years before, and we have continued our work in Kovalam since then. Since the Chaetomorpha or the seaweed was most abundant in the intertidal rocks of Kovalam, we started studying the temporal variation in the associated fauna. And then we have found that it's been dominated particularly by the amphipods, isopods, some of the copepods, some gastropod. We have also found nudibranchs, sea slugs, polychaetes, and so on and so on. One particular interesting fauna what we have found was an amphipod, which we could identify through morphology. It's a distinct species. Using the integrative taxonomic approach, we found that this particular species belonged to a novel species of in the genus Protohyles. So we named it from where it was I discovered in Kovalam as Protohyle covelongensis. And we have described this species and then published it in the zoo taxon. We have also found some other novel species. For example, here you can see Nemeritia, again from the Kovalam intertidal rock filled with the seaweeds. Another novel species of the soft coral from the fish landing centers, that is a Dendronephthia, and we named it as a Dendronephthia johnsoni, in honoring the founder of the Satyabama University, Chancellor and the President of the Satyabama University, Johnsoni. Besides studying in the Kovalam, in the other areas of the North Tamil Nadu, especially in the Chennai coastal areas, we have discovered some of the new distributional record of pen shell from the Chennai coast. That was initially we thought it belonged to Atrina pectinata, but then upon doing the integrative taxonomic approach, we found that it belongs to Atrina hystrix, and Atrina hystrix was never reported from the Indian waters. Besides in the Pulicat, which is again a very important coastal and marine biodiversity area of our country, we have very recently started looking into the marine biodiversity there, and we found a seagrass Rupia genus. Initially, we thought that this is Rupia maritima, but again using the integrative taxonomic approach and a very careful examination of the morphology, we found that it belonged to the Rupia brevipedunculata. Rupia brevipedunculata was never discovered from India. So again, that gives a first record from India. The studies in the Park Bay, the studies in the Kovalam and other coastal areas of Tamil Nadu has helped us developing a small marine species collection with more than 350 species, including 8 novel species or new record to India in the last 5 years. We have made a field identification guide for the common marine and the coastal life of the Kovalam for the beachgoers, and we have also circulated it to all the nearby places in Kovalam for the reference. And you can see some of the images here how our marine species collection looks like and the novel species. We have not stopped just by identifying the species. We are also trying to delineate the species complex using the integrative taxonomic approach. And we have for the very first time found that Himantura, which is a stingray, Hematura tutul was identified from the Indian coastal water. I don't have time to go in detail about telling about all the results, but then just to give you an overview that this was for the very first time discovered in the Indian coastal waters. And then we have looked into the molecular phylogeny reconstruction and biogeographic pattern of the race, and then found out that close to 35 species of the stingray are available in the Indian coastal waters. Some of the samples were collected in the Park Bay, and majority of this is collected from previously published literatures. So we can say that in India we have at least based on the molecular analysis, there are 35 species of the stingray available in the Indian waters. We also found very interestingly that some of the species in the stingray for which the sequences were available or the data were available showed variable population or the genetic divergence between the east and the west coast. Now we are looking more into that aspect and then trying to figure it out that whether the Indian peninsula acting as a natural barrier to the populations living in both the oceans. And then we are also trying to understand the ecological interaction of these species. So very recently, we have found that some of the dead pinna shells in the sea floor of Park Bay were occupied by blenny fishes. And blenny fishes uses the dead shellfishes in order to lay the eggs and nourish them so that they get a safe place for their offsprings. We found also some of the associated common or the common cell shrimps associated with the bivalve pinna bicolor, again in the same habitat. So all these ecological interaction we've been studying in the Park Bay and the Kovalam in order to understand better our marine biodiversity. And we are also learning from the fishers through the traditional ecological knowledge, where we have published very recently very first electric ray artisanal fishers attitude and perception, and how we can improve the conservation of these species in along the Indian coastline. One particular thing I would like to say that, for example, many of the IUCN red list species for these kind of organisms are made with a general perception. For example, even now, if you go and look into the Narsin Timli, you will be able to see that most of the description is given for overall elasmobranch, and based on that, they have made a IUCN red list category for Narsin timli, which is an electric ray. So species-specific studies are missing. So now we've been trying to do that species-specific information in order to improve their conservation aspects. And very recently, Dr. Prakash in our research group has published the Fisher's Perception and Attitude towards Sustainable Marine Aquarium Trade in India. It is just published last week. So besides all the research work which we've been doing, we are also very, very active in the knowledge dissemination, conducting a lot of online and offline courses, bringing the participants and the citizens to the shore, showing them that how what are the different marine biodiversities are there, how do we identify them, using the integrative taxonomic approach. If you are interested in any of the training, you can see that we've been posting very regularly in hands-on training and the workshops on various different aspects of the marine organisms. So you can go on this particular blog and you can be able to see that most of the information is given there. And next, after 10 days from 19 to 21, we are also going to held a session on the workshop on the integrative taxonomy of the marine organisms, especially for the researchers working on the marine biodiversity. So with this, I would like to thank everyone to listen.